Can it be?
Yes, sorry, thank you, that reminded me.
Sorry, I didn't catch that either, sorry.
And if you need a link to it for the minutes, just send me an email.
Okay, yeah, that would be great, just for to make sure I'm getting everything right. Thanks.
Yeah, it's very helpful to have meetings. Okay, we have a couple of other things on our agenda. Number 3 is for people who did not go to the Section 106 meeting on February 18th. I think everyone got copies of the minutes from Mass Highway on that meeting. And are there any questions, comments, clarifications?
So if the Byway Group Committee is going to send comments, it seems like we need to figure that out today, right?
Yes, but can we dispatch this one first? Are we going to discuss the 106 meeting minutes?
Well, I mean, they're there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're on Sheila's draft, correct? I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. What are we doing?
Number 2, discuss the Route 2A comment letter that Sheila drafted.
Right.
In an effort to document what the committee agrees upon.
Do you want me to share the screen, or everybody has it in front of them anyway?
I hope so, but maybe people.
Sharing the screen would be helpful.
Yeah, maybe that would be a good thing.
Can you all see it?
Yes.
You can see it? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't have that green box. Okay. All right. I trust y'all see it.
We see the first part of it, so you could scroll down a little bit. And about now, I think. Yeah.
So I have comments.
I have comments. This is Jane.
And so
I do too.
okay. Bob, do you want to go?
Oh, well, first of all, I thought it was a great effort, and I really appreciate that Sheila did this. There were, aside from some wordsmithing issues that I really don't know how we can deal with that. I probably just submit them to Sheila at the end of the meeting. I don't know. I thought that there was an omission about the splitter, the construction of the splitters and the pedestrian refuge islands. That was, I know there've been comments all along about having those be as unobtrusive or as historic looking as possible. And I don't think the draft letter mentioned that at all. So maybe we need to add language for that. Secondly, I'm really glad that somebody looked at the 100% plans and noticed that brick red pavement painting. I hadn't noticed it at 2 of the intersections. And yeah, I totally agree with what was written here, that that should be filled in with grass rather than having just some paint on existing pavement, because people would just drive right over it. That was really it. I thought that that we need to address the splitters and crosswalk construction details. And they're really, in the plans, in the 100% plan, there's almost no detail given about those structures. So
More than
yeah, I think we have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, more than before. Okay, Richard.
Yeah. Can I share? Maybe it might be easier. Let's see which one it is. So we have two official liaisons to MassDOT, Tim Paris and Chris Clem. So this should be sent to Chris Clem as well, since he is our official liaison. That's number one. Number two is going back to the 106 meeting and the 106 meeting minutes and federal guidelines. Obviously, one of the slides that was shown talked about traffic calming measures and what's appropriate at a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit and what's appropriate at a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. And part of the question and issue, and I know when I had asked before, does MassDOT have a target speed? When they say they're going to have these traffic calming measures, they're doing it for 40 miles an hour. And part of what Tool has been saying all along is that we hope that the speed will be reduced. And when we look at federal guidelines and say we have an 11-foot travel lane with a reasonable shoulder, and all of a sudden that is constrained and narrowed to about 11 feet. So once we get to the islands and the crosswalks, we're telling motorists that they still can go 40 miles an hour, and they have to share that 11-foot pavement width with cyclists. And I mean, it just is not safe for cyclists. And all along, we've sort of done things backwards. And what should have happened is that there should be a target design speed. And I think all along, everybody said the target speed should be 30, sometimes 35. And from there, you figure out what you need to do to get to that point. That's not the case here. And MassDOT is saying, we're going to do this and then we're going to walk away, and whatever it turns out to be, whether the speed gets reduced or not, or if we have to do a speed study, we're not going to do it at the islands, we'll do it somewhere else. And we're left with nothing essentially, other than we know that what is in the 100% design plans is dangerous for cyclists, and it doesn't accommodate them at all. And what I've suggested is to say that three things in the bullets. Number one is to say that whatever traffic calming measures there are, whether they're crosswalks, islands, or whatever, that they're designed for 30-mile-per-hour design target speed. Because if we design them for 40 miles an hour, then if the speed gets reduced at some other point, then they're not designed correctly. And Tool showed the guidelines to say that what they've designed is not appropriate at 30 miles an hour. And so I think we ought to look at it that way, and to ask MassDOT to commit to reducing the posted speed to 30 miles per hour throughout the byway portion of the project, either as standard or as advisory. And to, since they removed the accommodations for cyclists from the 25% to the 100%, I think we should ask them to make accommodations so that cyclists can be safe on the roadway.
Okay. Anything else?
And then, we had asked back in November for documents to get a sense of why they might have done these things, and we still haven't got them. And so I think we ought to request those documents that we saw it in the, I guess it was November 7th letter. So that, and then at the end of the letter, we have a responsibility to both MassDOT and to Federal Highway for signage along the corridor. And so I think we need to let MassDOT know that they need to consult with us before determining the signage, because we're federally mandated to do that. And so those are my suggested changes.
have a responsibility to do that. We have a responsibility to have an opinion about that. We don't have any regulatory or other.
No, we don't have any regulatory. And that's why I'm saying that, but we're responsible for assuring the signage is consistent. We don't have any authority to make it consistent. But that's why we're asking MassDOT to consult with us before they determine what the signage is.
Okay,
I don't think this is what that says, Richard. I agree with Nancy. We can have an opinion, but we can't say that we have the jurisdiction to ensure that signage is consistent. We don't have that.
No,
We
MassDOT.
we can request, it's MassDOT.
That's what we're saying.
No, it
We're
doesn't
asking
say
them to
that.
consult
as
with us.
responsible for ensuring.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Okay, so there's that. Do any other committee members have comments?
This is Paul from Arlington. I thought the letter was excellent, and I talked to my fellow members of the committee who also had a chance to review it. They also thought it was excellent, and were prepared to go forward with it as written. These comments that Richard is suggesting, the one about the sort of doing the calming measures to be compatible with 30 miles an hour. I guess I could be okay with that going in as a request. This other part about us being responsible for the signage, no, I agree with what Nancy and Paula have said. That's much too strong for what our role in this is.
Anybody else?
Okay, I do agree with Richard on the speed, the changes to the speed section. The original wording has a paragraph in there essentially acquiescing to MassDOT's way of doing business, which is to just put in some measures and then see what the speed happens to be. So I like that paragraph has been removed. And I like Richard's language, and I do agree with everybody else about that statement about the limits of our authority on the signage. So I think we're all on the same page. I think, yeah.
Anybody else from the committee? And I have some, if not.
Is there somewhere that we can change the wording on the signage so that we at least have the request in to review it, even though we may not have regulatory authority, but if there's some way we can still get our digs in?
Sure. I mean, we can ask for a comment period on the signage. I don't see why we couldn't ask for that.
What are these signs? Are these byway signs, or are these the safety signs? What kind of signs are we talking about? Because I mean, MassDOT, all the signs have certain warrants, and they kind of need to go where they go. Are these byway identification signs?
I interpret that Richard was looking for us to have
They're
approval
the ones
over
that are
any type of signage.
They're the ones that are called out in the corridor management plan.
And what are those ones? I don't know.
Don't either.
What kind of signs, Richard, are called out in the corridor management plan?
Safety signs, making sure that there aren't too many signs, taking signs away that are not necessary, making sure that identification signs are there, directional signs that are appropriate for the byway.
So I think we've settled that we're not responsible for this, and that we could request consultation from Mass
Mhm.
All right.
on signage. And I think it's a good idea for the National Park is also reviewing and replacing a lot of their signs. So there seems to me to be a coordination that's needed between all of us. So is that it for committee members?
I have a question on the first. Oh, I can't scroll it up. Can you scroll that up? On the miles per hour?
Mhm.
What are traffic calming measures that are designed for 30 miles per hour as opposed to what is proposed? I mean, I think that sentence is not, I don't know what that even means.
Yeah, so in the 106 process, tool showed slides, and it showed what appropriate traffic calming measures are at different speeds. As an example, at 40 miles an hour, it says that beacons are appropriate in most instances. And then it says at 30 miles an hour, beacons are not generally appropriate. So that's one example.
What I didn't, what's that term you used? I didn't get it.
Flashing lights.
Caution lights.
The flashing light
You know,
beacon.
the rapid flashing when they come on when someone presses to cross.
Okay, got it. Got it. Thanks.
And they may or may not be appropriate if the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. MassDOT has consistently said that we need to put in these traffic calming measures and then do a speed study. And I know that Sheila had put in a paragraph that commits them to do the speed study, which I thought was really good.
Yes, I agree.
This sort of turns that around and says, no, we want you, MassDOT, to reduce the speed to 30 miles an hour. And then only put in traffic calming measures that are appropriate for 30 miles per hour. I don't know what exactly that means. Does that mean you don't need splitter islands? Does that mean you don't need pedestrian refuge islands? I think this goes too far and is not the process by which MassDOT is going to reduce the speed anyway.
So
Okay.
on the MassDOT website, it says this is the process.
Can we?
That what, they reduce the speed and then they.
No, it says when you're going to do traffic calming measures, you should have a design target speed, and you should design to that. That's what they say on
Well,
their
this
website.
is,
Can I ask Simone if she had comments? I thought I saw her phone line up.
Yeah, so thank you, Nancy. Just a quick comment that hasn't been broached, and it's really sort of just a very simple item, is if the name of the park could just be spelled correctly. So Minuteman is 2 simple.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So I commend Sheila's effort. I think we're right back where we were before. There are several things in here that are new that we haven't discussed or agreed upon, particularly about the promise of a 4-foot wide shoulder. And we as a committee are extremely disappointed that that cannot be achieved in this phase. That's one of the things that that is probably the most at odds with what 2 of the committee members have stated in the past.
Excuse me, Nancy, have we gotten closure on this speed thing?
I don't see that we're going to get closure.
Okay, I mean,
We're right back to where we were. We're spinning.
Wait a
we might
second.
be
I don't know
close.
what you mean by closure, but I do today very much want to get this letter, sent. I don't want to be debating this in another month.
I think that Sheila's letter as written, and if you want to add something about consulting of signs at the end, was actually a really good letter.
I agree. I agree.
I will point out
Okay.
that we said at the last meeting, we said that we wanted a letter that would identify the areas of agreement and consensus on the part of the committee.
Yes.
There are things in here that are pointed out that we disagree. But what is not pointed out that we disagree on is the existence of raised structures 4 feet wide for safety as well as compatibility with the context reasons. And that's been stated by 2 members. So I think we are back discussing the same kinds of areas of disagreement as before.
Well,
What we said at the meeting, and I was very careful to state this at the end, and maybe I have to make sure that's in the minutes, but we agree on reducing speed. I'm not convinced that things cannot be done now to reduce speed. We agreed on the Lexington Road intersection treatment. We agreed on the Airport Road intersection treatment. We agreed on 10.5-foot lanes, which at the 106 meeting, they said they were going to do anyway. And we agreed that it's very important for the guardrails to be wood, steel-backed wood guardrails. And the National Parks letter pointed out that those are being crash tested now. So I would certainly not agree for Concord with saying that, well, but we'll give you the brown toned ones now. So I think that the efforts to develop things that are better isn't over yet. So I don't know how we can say, well, here's a fallback for Mass Highway when I think it's not clear that those steel-backed wood guardrails are not going to be approved soon. So that's what I think, and maybe we should take a vote and get on with it so we can take up some of the other things that we have.
Let me just say a couple of things in terms of where we go from here and whether we can figure out what to do in general. So I talked to Representative Michelle Socolo. I talked to the executive director of Mass Bike, and I know Mass Dot is looking at design exceptions and looking at design exceptions about not making accommodations for cyclists. And you know, Galen said, you know, I want to see what the local communities are, because, you know, we think there should be accommodations for cyclists. And Michelle Socolo has always been fairly active in complete streets and in roadway safety, and you know, wants to know, you know, how do the local folks think about it. And if we can't come to a consensus, I think I'm quite sure that the Lexington Board of Selectmen would support what Michelle Socolo would like to have happen. And I think Concord probably Board of Selectmen would also like to do that, and hopefully the park. And so if we can't come to a conclusion, you know, if the individual boards of selectmen can advocate, because one of the reasons why I had wanted Ross Morrow to sit in on the working group is that he used to work for MassDOT, and he looked at the design plans, and he feels, you know, very strongly that if MassDOT wanted to reduce the speed, they have the wherewithal to do it right now.
But Richard, I don't think he worked for
Yeah.
MassDOT, but that's what the splitter islands are. That is one of the traffic calming measures.
Right, but it makes it worse for cyclists.
It
makes it
absolutely
dangerous.
reduces the paved
Right. So, right.
pedestrians, because it takes like a 5-foot chunk of pavement out of the center. So it's a safety problem.
Right. But reducing the speed is the safety for all.
Reducing the speed, it's not guaranteed, and the solution will be more and more impacting stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, if the speed is reduced to 30, then then everybody's accommodated because then cyclists can be safe,
Right.
pedestrians can be safe, and motorists can be safe. But at a 40 miles an hour, that's not going to happen. I
Right.
think Chris Clem has his hand up.
Yeah, I see. Chris, yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
good morning, everyone. Sorry, my camera's off. I'm having some connection issues. I do just want to stress that MassDOT cannot simply lower the speed limit in this scenario. There are situations where it can. I think when you're in a thickly settled urban corridor, downtown central business district, excuse me, it's possible. But in this case, it simply does not apply, and the only path forward is a speed study. And the splitter islands, I understand your concern, and the refugee crosswalks for bicyclists, excuse me. But, you know, the safety issue is only for that brief, 10 to 15 feet of the road. And then it's okay. And I don't think cars will be trying to run cyclists off the road in these scenarios. I think they'll be slowing down when they see pedestrians and cyclists and the road thinning out in these areas.
I just note that this pedestrian crossings are something approaching 60 feet long.
Okay. That's just what I wanted to share for now. Thank you.
Yeah. But the thing is that it's not an engineering thing that MassDOT is doing. It's a political thing. And if they think that the local communities support what they've designed, they're going to go ahead and do it. I think if we had the support of our state delegation and federal delegation, I think that might make a difference. And I am going to, ask my Board of Selectmen to support safety for cyclists and pedestrians and motorists.
Well, Richard, I don't think that's fair in that we all are supporting it. I think we see it maybe a little differently, but
Because there's no accommodations for cyclists.
well, there
What?
will be if
There won't be.
if
MassDOT
we reduce
had
the
signs, they
speed,
took them away.
if we reduce the speed, we could do a sharrows, but we can't. They won't arbitrarily reduce the speed. We need to put in measures that reduce it. And the splitter islands, the crosswalks, the narrowed lanes, those are the actions that will reduce the speed.
Maybe. Are we at a point to take continue with this conversation?
Well, I would like to get to a point where this letter would be approved to be submitted to MassDOT. There might be some loose ends, but the important thing to me is to get the Battle Road Scenic Byway Committee on the record with this process. There are going to be other, review meetings and forums where if people want, they can put this into the discussion. But for us to delay this letter by another month is, we're not fulfilling our duty, in my opinion.
I think this letter goes way, way beyond what we talked about doing in terms of adding new things and adding things that we don't agree
Well,
on.
I guess you and I disagree then.
Well, then we should add about the disagreement about the splitters and the pedestrian islands.
If you want to indicate that, the committee has a desire for some of these other things to be included, some way or other, I'm okay, but we're not going to mandate it. That this idea that several of us can mandate what MassDOT will do and that they will, overturn their procedures. It's not reality.
Well, they have done it before with political pressure. There was a mediated agreement for the intersection at the east end of the park. And that didn't happen without political reinforcement of the idea. So I don't know.
I think that that advocating for MassDOT to just reduce the speed to 30 miles an hour without these safety measures being put in place is reckless, to tell you the truth, because all you're going to have is they're not going to do it, and you're going to have a newly repaved surface that's just going to be a speedway. They are trying to put in 4-foot shoulders. The pinch points are at the crosswalks. But drivers are going to have to slow down when they're approaching these splitter islands and refuge islands anyway. So, you know, the best way to get the safety that everybody is looking for. You know, I know that people don't like the idea of putting things in the road, but I really think that at the end of the day, that's going to provide the safety that everybody is advocating for both the pedestrians and the cyclists, and also make the road really unappealing for cut-through traffic. This committee is not in complete agreement on having crosswalks and splitter islands. That's clear, but to change the letter to say that we want MassDOT to just reduce the speed, we did talk about that at the last time, and we did not have agreement on that. I thought that Sheila did a great job putting this letter together. And if we go back to her letter with a couple of tweaks, if we can get to agreement, that would be great. I agree with Paul, but this change that Richard has put in, I think is not an agreed upon position by this committee.
But I also think that there's certainly no agreement on the crosswalks and the splitter islands being a universal safety measure, and because it prohibits it's an unsafe situation for cyclists, and so by having those there is just no consideration for bicycle safety. And I suspect that there are far more cyclists on this road than pedestrians, and I think that we need to take into consideration safety for cyclists. And we're doing exactly the opposite if we continue to insist on the crosswalks and splitter islands.
Well, to say that there's no accommodation for bicyclists, that's not really true.
It is true.
What is?
They have committed to reducing the lane width in order to have more shoulder, and their goal was to have 4-foot shoulders consistently, but there are a few pinch points.
I think it's one of the few. It's 5 feet out of the center of the paved surface, and that squeezes the travel lane and any paved shoulder over to the edges.
The reason you need a refuge is because MassDOT recognizes that cars are not going to slow down or stop for pedestrians. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the refuge.
Well, Chris,
Can we afford public comment period, or are we still deliberating this letter? Do we want to make a motion? And do we want to hear from the public before? There is a person who has a hand up, at least.
well, I just want to add that I've listened to both sides of this, and I'm agreeing now with Paula that the letter as it stands is preferable to reworking it and just creating conflict amongst us. So anyhow.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that position as well. And my colleagues in Arlington would support that.
Can we open this to public comment?
Please.
There's one hand. Jane?
Thank you. Yeah, other than a couple of abbreviations and Minuteman Park words, I was concerned about all the circles. And I was of the impression that this committee, well, I should say the working group, all agreed about the speed limit at 30 miles an hour. And we're going to deal with whatever is appropriate for 30 miles an hour. No pedestrian walks on Route 2A and without taking their life in their hands. There's the curves and everything. So I really would like to see, them just taken out, because it's really the 30 mile an hour is in the dot, the first paragraph dot. The other thing that when we get, can you move it so I can see that last?
Which way?
The end of circle. Yeah. Is that right? Wait a minute, let me just look at my notes.
Do you mean, are you talking about the bullets?
No, there's
on the-
bullets and there's circles. I'd like to see
Oh,
the circles all taken out, because you're just giving MassDOT a good reasons to say, well, if you can't do this and you do that. And that's my opinion, and I'm going to leave it there. Now, the last sentence, the last bullet, we asked that safety signs be replaced in a uniform color throughout the length of the corridor. What really needed is 3 sets of warning signs for 3 intersections: Brooks Road, Bedford Road, and Mill Street. Then what they do is they have a sign that says there's a road entering when you're going eastbound past the Bedford Lane, past the parking lot. And then you come around the curve and then it says road narrows. Totally inappropriate. You've got to tell the people that there's a dangerous intersection, that it's 1,000 feet or 500 feet or whatever, what's coming up. People just don't appreciate, and they get narrowing. It's ridiculous. You're already there by the time you come around the curve and you see that it's narrow. And so the same issues with Mill Street is extremely dangerous. A lot of bicyclists have been coming this last year, have whipping out of there, and they're taking their life, but it's just awkward. It would be nice if we could have safety signs. You come out of Hanscom Drive and it says road narrows when you're going eastbound. That's ridiculous. It's, you can see that beforehand. They have inappropriate safety signs, and I just would like to see, of course, my stop signs at Bedford Road, but, and I still think it's possible, and I think the state can drop it to 30 miles an hour, and I would just like to see those. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Can I add that your points, you had, these that we agree on, and you listed 5, 6, or 7. I thought that was going to be in here. Otherwise, I thought Sheila did a great job, and I want you to know that, Sheila.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jane. Wendell, I think Wendell Counselor has his hand. Counselor. But you're muted.
Yes, I just like to, as a cyclist that regularly cycles on Battle Road, to emphasize the importance of reducing the speed limit. I think that it is not a safe route for cyclists to go. It's one of the very few routes to go west from Lexington. And so I think to emphasize the importance of reducing the speed limit to 30 miles an hour is an important consideration for the Battle Road to talk about, and its importance for MassDOT to do that, and not to rely on some future speed study.
Which is being called into question by Federal Highways as well as Mass Highway itself. So their policies for those are under review. Thank you, Wendell. Okay, what do you guys want to do?
I feel that we need to submit something, and perhaps we can water down, take out the controversial parts of this letter so that we can get something out. Because I do think it's important that we take some kind of position. Oops, excuse me.
I agree. I agree with that. Arlington agrees with that.
So I'm happy to I'm happy to, I tried to edit as we were talking, so I can re-show the letter on the screen with track changes.
Heather, I'm gonna ask, Heather, is there a way to have, give Sheila a chance to take another crack at this and then have a vote remotely?
Well, I mean,
No.
can we just take out the first two circles?
Can we have
Rich-
Sheila, let Sheila share her
Yeah,
screen?
Richard,
so she
can you
can
stop?
See what Sheila
Yeah.
has.
Can you stop sharing, Richard?
I'm trying to find my, my thing. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm used to WebEx rather than Zoom.
Okay, can you all see it?
No,
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 Oh,
Not yet.
yep.
okay, all right. I didn't get Chris Clem's position, I apologize. Fix National Historic Park. All right, now here's the historical.
and then at the end of the paragraph, just make it bisects MN and HP, because you already got it up there.
Good point.
No, leave that one in.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Oops.
I don't know how you guys do this, but I know.
All right.
Sorry, thank you.
So then the question is whether we were taking this out.
I think we keep it in.
And there,
Yeah, I mean, it seems from everything
Yeah,
that I've
leave it
heard,
in.
it seems that MassDOT will do a speed study, but
Yeah.
they'll do it after
the damage is done.
Yeah,
they'll do it
Yeah.
after their work is completed. And the chances, there's a good chance that that speed study would get us to the place we want to be, which is 30 miles an hour.
what a waste of money.
Paul, that the reason the 85th percentile standard is being reviewed, in my understanding, is that it's old and obsolete, and it often leads to higher speeds being posted.
Well,
So it can be a very vicious.
well, the 85th percentile is still what people will drive. But MassDOT's point is you need to change the road to change that 85th percentile.
There are many ways to change a road and lower it. And
All right.
putting, as they've said all along, they want to do the easy stuff now. I think this is familiar to them. They do it a lot. I don't understand how you can put in crosswalks that are handicap accessible at the corners and not handicap accessible as at the crossing itself, and invite more people down onto a road that don't go there now.
It feels as though we're ignoring what Chris Clem said 20 minutes ago. He said, this is the way we do it. This is the only way we'll do it. And it
Ignore
seems
him.
to,
And-
pardon?
It isn't the only way to do things, and you know that, Tom.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, we're dealing with an agency, and this is the way they operate. Can we function with consistently with the way they operate? And I think we probably can.
Yes, I do.
Rather than trying to push them in a direction they don't normally go. And
Well, we can
there-
non-normally go.
excuse me, there's a boomerang effect here. If they start designing for 30 miles an hour, and that says you don't need various kinds of calming measures because it's only 30 miles an hour, the calming measures don't get put in, and the traffic goes 45. I mean, that's the boomerang that we're facing.
Enforcement helps, you know.
Yeah, well, what's the character of the park if we have a couple of police cruisers parked along the roadway?
They're there
all the
already,
time?
and people pass me when I was talking to a park ranger. It was awful. They
Um,
screwed right around me.
We have now been at this for.
I'm
almost-
sorry, Nancy. I will mute myself.
No, I don't mean you, Jane. I don't mean you. I mean, we've been discussing this for an hour. It's a very familiar conversation. I don't
Right.
want to.
Nancy, why don't we keep going on Sheila's draft? Why don't we
Right.
keep going and then,
I think officially, I'm trying to get reacquainted with Robert's simple rules of order. I think you're tabling something.
what? No, I'm just saying, let's go on, let's keep reviewing the draft.
Oh, you want to keep reviewing?
Yeah, keep
Right.
going.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Sheila.
So the next thing was, this was not agreed upon, so we request the wood guard rails as above, but we take out their sort of the allowed, the exception. And then we add a sentence, a last bullet about having the opportunity to review the signs. Working that one out a little better.
I would take out the comment on the intersection with Old Mass Ave because it's not at all clear, but I think that's not going to be included in this project. That was always phase 2. We've been told that there is no phase 2, but we know we will probably see a standalone project that looks a lot like phase 2. So I would take that one out.
Well, all we're saying here is that we hope it could be addressed. It's
Yeah.
getting on the record. It's saying, please, please don't ignore it if possible.
But
There's nothing wrong with that.
that's a throwaway line for something that's not in this project. We're
Well, wait a
trying,
minute. Hold on, guys. Phase 2 was for redesigning that intersection. This comment is just make sure you build you do the repaving in a way that's not going to erode.
but
Yeah.
that's what they're doing with the entire road.
Yeah,
But
but
then
this
just leave it
doesn't,
in for us, Nancy. Just leave it in for us, all right?
Believe well,
We're just talking
Why
about
don't we just
potholes
take it out
here.
for us?
Yeah.
actually, I still don't know how we can, I don't know how we can say it was some of the things that are in here that are new.
It seems to me we've got a draft here now that has been modified a little bit, and I think we can agree to send it in as it's just been modified.
I think we do need to add the bullet asking once again for them to send us the documents we asked in November.
What are those documents?
Design exceptions, justification for what they're doing. They had said, here's a bunch of things that we're doing or have done. In November, we asked for them.
The design justification report, the categorical exclusion checklist, current traffic and accident data. And consistently then those requests have been ignored. I don't know what good it is to ask it again.
What was just design justification? There were 3 things. Design justification report.
Right-of-way survey, which used to be posted, but when Andrew Wilkins was still project manager, he put down the first set of drawings and the right-of-way survey was there.
The right-of-way survey is still in the drawings. It's not very prominent, but you can see the right-of-way in the drawings.
Prominent, that's correct. And the idea would be to see it more explicitly, but categorical exclusion checklist and current traffic and accident data. But I think I should say, I don't know how we can send this because I'm looking, but we are extremely disappointed. The project is limited edge to edge pavement. I think.
Well, aren't we? I mean, we wanted more.
Get categorical exclusion in there.
Thank you.
No, we can't. How do we get, I mean, if you took the pedestrian islands and the splitters out, you could get a 4-foot shoulder in more areas. But you can't have both without terrible impacts and probably exceeding the right of way. And that's one of the important things about having a clear understanding of the right of way, why that's important. It's almost too late for some of this stuff to apply to what they're thinking right now.
Nancy, I have one editorial thing up above.
Okay. hang on.
Are you trying to accommodate my request?
I'm sorry.
I have a question on the top of page 2. Stop. All right, second bullet. Twice Sheila used a special place, and I like that. But and in the second sentence, she refers to the All-American Road. Can it through a special place say through a national park, and then
Yeah.
keep the second special place, and then have All-American. So that paragraph is heavy. Thank you.
Okay, folks, do we want to say anything about the construction of the splitters and the refuges in terms of the
Right.
tumbling, or the type of granite that's used, whether or not it's a vertical curbing or a slanted curbing, that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
thing?
that was discussed, Bob, and that MassDOT is amenable to using the tumbled, I think it's called tumbled cobble and slanted curbing, and we could put that in if,
Yeah, it's not in the 100% draft
yeah,
drawings
so,
right now, so
yeah,
it's like we ought to put it in there.
okay.
I think it's premature for us to weigh in on the islands.
Yeah, this is
They're at 100.
This is a 106 discussion now too. So,
I think this is perfectly in line, this request is perfectly in line with the rest of the letter. You're asking for timberback guardrails. This is again in that
I think
idea of it being, using using materials that blend more in with the historic area.
But this is assuming that there are going to be refuge islands.
Right. I mean,
yeah, you're tinkering around with something that the committee is not endorsing as a committee. So you're saying, well, let's say something nice about the material, but the material is not the main problem.
So why don't we just say wherever splitter islands and refuges are incorporated into the plan, we request.
or would we request that they not be incorporated in the plan?
Yeah.
How about we
no-
just request tumbled cobbles and slanted curbing?
I'm sorry, I think this is a waste of time. I don't think.
All right, leave it out. You're going to end up with
No, I mean,
ugly.
trying to craft a letter that's acceptable. I mean, there were areas that we talked about that we agreed upon in this. And the best thing would be to keep this letter very simple and endorse those things that we know we agree on. We're getting into areas in several places here where we disagree. We haven't given Mass Highway the last word yet. There's a lot of process to be followed still, probably.
So let's get on the record with a letter and be there at the next steps of the process. Why should we not do that? There'll still be disagreement. It comes out in the process as it goes down to the next steps.
I think we've seen how open the process is already. I think we've seen that. And
What we've seen is that MassDOT responds to political pressure, and the only political pressure they've gotten is from selectmen. And if they feel there's political pressure from our congressional delegation at both state and federal level, that's how we can get a safe road. That's
So
the only way.
let's get the letter in, see how they respond, and then we can address the issue of political pressure then. To just keep this in a form of suspended animation is nuts.
Agree. So take out the things we don't agree on, like the tumble cobble.
And the splitter islands and the refuge islands.
Well, those aren't in there to begin with
They're
Well,
not
in
in
this
there.
letter.
Well, there's a lot of there are other things that that we don't like in this letter.
Well, then tell
We were
us.
trying to focus on the things that we agreed upon and that there was consensus about.
All right, so the first bullet, I think, was now fixed to
Yeah, but
bottom
there still
line,
isn't,
bare
still isn't-
bones consensus.
right, but there isn't anything that talks about cyclist safety. And the 100% design does not have any accommodations for cyclists.
So Richard, you want something like that in there?
I do. I mean, I come out Mill Street in a very short period on Route 2A to go into the Paul Revere parking lot 3 times a week at least. And I know that if this were constructed as designed, I would really feel completely unsafe on that, doing that short maneuver. I'm safe doing it now because I know that cars can move over the yellow dotted line and not hit me. And I know that once those refuge islands are there, I will not be safe. I know that.
Can we say a benign thing of just, we asked for safer bicycle accommodations and period.
No, we
We'll
asked,
leave it at that.
asked for bicycle accommodations, not safer ones. There are no accommodations for bikes now. They took them out.
Well, I
Yeah,
think,
no,
well, no, we kind of, I think that's where we disagree a little bit.
I would say the
Show-
crosswalk at,
Show me where they are.
I'd say the crosswalk right near Mill Street is a bicycle accommodation because you only have to get off your bike, walk 100 feet and walk your bike across the road.
No,
And you'll
no,
be
no
fine.
cyclist is going to do that.
Right.
I
Go
would do
above-
it.
Go
I live
above,
right there.
go to the area right above the first circle. Where's the first circle? We very much desire to have B2B. This speed is more compatible for cyclists. The current is dangerous. How much more do you need?
Oh,
You said it.
take out the word more.
Oh, God.
Because
Well, it's
because
more
that 40
than
miles an hour is not
40.
compatible.
Right, but that's that, I mean, that's the sentence. It's
So-
more than 40.
All right, so you have to take the word more out because it's not compatible at 40.
Why don't you take everything after the X?
Oh,
That's a good idea.
so,
Somehow you got to present the issue about cyclists, and that's, rewrite that sentence.
Just
Sorry, I can't strain my.
particularly dangerous as many vulnerable users are present on the roadway with the daily traffic volume of whatever it is. It varies where you are on
right.
the road. So everything after the X was deleted, that does speak to.
I think I like it after, if you take out the word more, the speed is, really, I think you're wordsmithing this to death.
Yeah. It's hopeless.
All right. I have 20 minutes.
What say you?
What are we gonna do?
I'm ready to approve it to be sent to the state.
I would like to send something to the state.
Are you
That's
making?
two
Let's
towns
send it.
that are ready to do it.
Are you making a motion, Paul?
And Lincoln.
So now it's 3 towns that are ready to do it.
Are we ready, Paula? I think we are.
Can you scroll back up? Let me just read quick. I think we are. I would like to see the traffic study put back in, and I know that there's disagreement on that, so we're not agreed, but I think that is going to be really important for all of us. Otherwise, it's fine. Can you just scroll up a little bit? No, the other way. Minuteman Historical Park. Okay, now to the end. So this fine. Okay, I think Lincoln can sign on to this letter as written.
So that's 3 towns that would do it. We have to hear from the park and from Concord.
I can't.
In Lexington. So if we take out that we're extremely disappointed, I can,
This,
yep.
that's fine with me.
I agree with that. I would be supportive of the letter without that bullet point as well.
What about the slip lane at Hanscom Drive? Why are we well, are you adding them at this point at the 100%? Are we adding them to take out the slip line or the slip lane?
No, just a bike sign, a look left bicyclist sign.
These are
Who's looking left and where?
The drivers coming out of the slip lane.
Yeah, this is for the
But we can take it
southbound
out.
traffic on Hanscom
Yeah.
Drive.
Yeah,
Hanscom
so,
Drive entering Route
Mass Dot took
2A.
out all the bicycle signs because they say it's not going to be safe for cyclists, so they're not going to put this in.
But Richard, your attitude towards MassDOT is really.
I think that's why, though. I think
Yeah, they had 33 signs in the 25% design. They took them all out because they recognize that it's not safe for cyclists.
Well, we've requested to review the
If they
signs. with
thought it
them.
was safe for cyclists, they wouldn't have taken them out.
So we want to take this out?
They thought it was, I don't understand that.
Yeah,
It's fine. I mean,
I taking out anything that might be helpful. Doesn't mean they're gonna do it, but maybe they will focus on bicyclists a
no,
little more.
there's not much they can do. And what they can do, this committee seems to like. Some of this committee seems to like.
Well, they can't widen the road, Nancy, so that's our
Right.
problem.
Which
Yeah.
is,
And are
which
they
is
ever gonna be
probably
able
good.
to widen the road? Probably not.
Probably
Right.
not.
They can't, I think we agree that without widening the road, it can be made safe for cyclists, pedestrians, and motorists.
But only without those obstacles in the road that probably make it.
That's where we disagree. So
Right.
let's not go back over
Right.
that.
Right.
all right.
Can we
all right.
agree on this letter? I think is where we are right now.
Is there a motion?
Arlington will move that the letter be accepted as amended in our discussion today and sent to MassDOT ASAP.
And I cannot support the letter.
Lincoln will
Lincoln.
second that motion.
Sorry.
Jean, Richard, what do you think?
Start, Arlene.
I think we could support it because I think this still gives us the opportunity to have our congressional delegation argue for the 30 miles an hour. I mean, MassDOT puts out advisory signs. They've got advisory signs on this roadway right now
Right.
at Lexington Road saying.
Well,
advisory
do we
speed.
agree on this? I'm running out of time. So are we willing to sign this?
I'm willing to.
Can we go back over the letter just quickly to see what it is that
So-
has involved?
So
Okay,
it looks like Lexington is in.
all in all.
Nancy, this is Simone.
Hi, Oh, so, hi Simone, I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry, because I need to drop off. So, but from the Park Services perspective, we have already submitted our formal position to MassDOT. So we're going to abstain from this, I guess essentially chiming in regarding this letter, although we strongly suggest that the committee does submit a letter for this, so that way they are on the record for the Section 106 process.
So why would you abstain?
Because the National Park Service has already submitted our comments as a separate consulting party. So I understand that the towns working through this particular letter might have differences of opinion, but I think
Right.
that it would be appropriate for the Park Service not to sort of vote up or down, other than recommending that the committee should send a letter. Our letter and our position is already on the record.
And do we have a
Simone?
copy of that?
We have it. I
Okay,
think.
we need 4 votes to send this letter, don't we? Not
Yes.
3.
So
So we need the
Concord.
national, is Concord on board? I don't think so.
I want to read through quickly through the letter to see what it says. And I can't move the screen.
Oh, all right. Tell me. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. I would take out those 2 circles, as Jane has said. Because it's the 30 mile, you could alter 35 and put 30 up there. But that's what I would do. And then going down further, 10.5 foot, I think that's fine. Granting away, yep, I agree with that. Brick red pavement, I don't care about that. I would take out Old Mass Ave just because that's what they're doing to the road. They're repaving it so it's safer. I think that's a throwaway comment. I don't know what safety signs be replaced so they're new and uniform color. I think they have to conform to federal highway standards, and the colors and the size and the shape and everything else is pretty well prescribed. So I think I could support that. I don't think you have, well, I think you can say, instead of fingering the park on that, I might say that the supermajority of the committee supported it and the park submitted separate comments in part of the 106 process, or the park has submitted. Simone's still on, she could probably say, but something like the National Park submitted formal comments under the Section 106 process.
Correct.
There she is. Okay.
Yes, for the National Park Service, because we are a separate Section 106 identified consulting party, our comment and is already on the record through the letter that we had sent last month.
So you can take out the supermajority. But leave in, yeah, Minuteman National Park. And then the only thing else, I just think that old Mass Ave comment sets the stage for phase 2, and it's a throwaway comment if you're only concerned about its unsafe state now, because that's going to get fixed.
Well, hopefully it'll get fixed.
Well, it's part of the plan.
They've
So
been trying to fix it for 20 years through patching, and it's not working for them. They really need to spend some time on that part.
do you want me to get the sheet out and we can see where the repaving goes? I think it goes pretty well up Old Mass Ave and around that corner, right? Is
Yeah,
anybody-
but they're, Nancy, this is not a bone of contention.
This is not, look, if you really want that taken out, we take it out. I think it's helpful to leave it in because
Yeah.
it's hopeful, but we need to get conclusion now because
Right.
Sheila's about to leave.
It's
Right,
a
let's just
This
take
is
it
the-
out and let's approve this.
throwaway comment. It's a
Oh,
throw.
right, so without it, we don't have many comments though. So, well, what about, so Nancy wants these two bullets out.
Why?
Isn't that what Nancy said? So I wanted to review that.
Because it's a little bit redundant with what's said above the first circle. And Mass Highway's totally going to commit to a speed study. They've always said that, and they always will do that.
So what? So we remind them to do it. I mean, it's
And
like,
that's reducing throughout the project limits. Well, if that's what remains, that's okay with me. And there's lines crossed through the rest of what I was mostly concerned with.
All right, so are we good as
Yeah.
it shows now on the screen?
Well, with those crossouts,
Right, yes, well,
and then of course I'll look carefully before I sign. We asked the traffic calming measures be, well, what this is code for, we asked that traffic calming measures, AKA splitters and pedestrian crossings, be designed so that the operating speeds are reduced. That's what they're doing already. This is endorsement of the splitters and the pedestrian crossings. Those are the traffic calming measures. So that's a big one.
so are you saying if that's in, you're not signing? I mean, we need to get to conclusion here, Nancy, and
That's an endorsement of the splitters.
I know that's
And
what
the-
you're saying, that's your opinion. My question is,
I heard
what
your
is-
question. I heard your question. What other traffic calming measures are there?
I'm
These-
not arguing with you about it. I'm just saying we need Concord to vote to sign the letter. If you will not sign it with this in,
Yes.
it becomes, shall we take it out?
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking.
that's what I said 5 minutes ago.
Well, it's, then I would take out the next because Lincoln can't come without the traffic calming, just reducing the posted speed to 30 miles an hour
Yeah.
is not going to do anything. So I would take it all out.
All right, we got a letter.
Yay.
Okay, Nancy, I think you should take a roll call vote on the,
I'm just checking. I'm just checking one thing and I'll do that. We have a motion on the table.
Yep.
So Arlington, I think we know.
no, if they
I'm
have
sorry.
to say. Take the roll call again.
What do you want me to say? Now we'll take a roll call?
Yes,
Now we'll take a roll call. Okay, sorry. Okay, Arlington,
Arlington votes yes.
Lexington,
Lexington will vote yes, it was you signify that Chris Clem's title is Mass Byways, State Byways Coordinator.
Yeah, you can change that to State Scenic Byway Coordinator.
Oh, there
Thank
go.
you.
Mhm.
Lincoln,
Lincoln votes yes.
and the National Park?
They've abstained, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you. That is part of a vote. Not to say you're abstaining from the vote.
Concord next.
I would only add that Jeffrey Shrimpton has asked that he be copied on things like this. So he is the Cultural Resources Supervisor for Mass Highway. And Concord supports. Heather, good for you.
Yes.
You know what Heather thinks. I think.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna have to jump off with Sheila. Thank you, everyone, for yes.
So Heather, I send this to you or send it to you, Nancy?
If you send it to me, yeah. that's
Okay.
fine.
And then we'll put it on Byway with the Byway logo. Which do
Okay.
all the towns have the logo that they can put on things like this?
No,
And-
if you send it around, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'm trying to get a lot of things like that organized around here, so thank you. Thanks for
Hey.
taking the minutes, Jennifer.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I need to jump.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Are we ending the meeting now?
No, we have other items.
So who's going to do the
Critical items.
minutes if Jennifer's leaving?
Oh, Jennifer,
Jennifer's not leaving. I have
Oh,
to, I have
oh,
to leave
okay,
off.
okay.
So if you can,
Okay.
and plus it's being recorded, so she'll be able to
Okay.
work off the recording.
Okay, before you leave, Paula,
Yeah.
so we've got this agenda item about the grants and technical
Yeah.
assistance from the FHWA.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts about things that we ought to address?
I haven't
Just-
really looked
no?
at
Okay,
it, so my
okay.
bad. I'm sorry
Okay.
to this group, but yeah, I think we should look at it.
Yeah, okay. No, I have a few ideas. I just
You-
want to know whether you had anything else.
Throw them out there, Bob.
we
Oh,
need
right.
to- need to
Yeah,
commit-
I just thought we could use some technical assistance. We need a traffic engineer on our side looking at things like crash rails, crosswalks, calming measures. Just, are there any other options out there that are not known to us and maybe not known to MassDOT? Just some small consulting contract.
I don't know
To-
if the
to-
timeline will line up, to tell you the truth.
Uh,
You have to apply
Well-
for the grant. They have to give you the grant. You have to hire the consultant.
Well, things like crash rails are probably something could be changed in a contract even a year or two from now. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, just stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Deep breath.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Paula, thank you. Okay, I think people on the committee, well, Chris, if Chris wanted to make some introductory summary of the opportunity before us with a very tight timeline.
Sure. Yeah, Nancy, I'd be happy to do that. I shared the notice of funding opportunity announcement with a few members here, as well as the letter of intent, which the deadline is coming up on April 4th. That is encouraged but not required by FHWA. So just high level overview of the grant opportunity. The DOT appropriated a total of $22 million in highway infrastructure program funds for Scenic Byways for grants and technical assistance that are to be made available to states or Indian tribes. The project categories, I shared a link to this, I believe, after the February meeting, and I'd be happy to share that again after this meeting as well. But generally, there's about 8 project types and
Eight project types, because the letter of intent identified 4. That was one of the things I wanted to ask about.
all right, so those 4 are sort of like project goals. So the goal of the grant is either safety related, equity and accessibility, economic strength, climate and sustainability. And I believe it can be related to more than one of those goals if you just provide justification.
Okay, and that's different from the 8 categories.
Yes. Yes. So the categories are the project types under which the proposed project would align with.
Okay.
So that, as I said earlier, the total program funding is $22 million, and the DOT expects about 50 grants to be awarded. So the, averaged out, the federal participation for those grants would be about $440,000. That would cover 80% of the project. So the remaining 20% would need to be covered by an entity within the state. And the language regarding those entities is a little bit unclear. So I have a number of questions that I'd like to ask our FHWA contact and clear up this afternoon. But the letter of intent is pretty straightforward. And we do have a month and a half until the actual applications are due. So I figured at this time it'd be good to just sort of discuss possible project ideas.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is that they recommend that the request is a minimum of the $500,000, so a little bit more than 440,000 is what we should be putting in for. I think, and again, in our corridor plan and in our things, we had identified a number of things that we thought would be appropriate that need to be done. And I think two of them that I think folks in Lexington sort of have talked about is sort of one of which is what Bob identified, and that is along not just the Route 2A portion, but along the whole byway, is looking at the infrastructure and safety and speed and then accommodating bikes and pedestrians and motorists. So that's one topic area. The other topic area is signage and interpretation, that we've got signs that are designed. We talked about kiosks in Arlington, Lexington, Concord, whatever. And, so that's sort of a second topic area that, is applicable to all 5 entities. So I think those are some of the things that folks in Lexington have discussed. I mean, there are other minor things. I mean, like we should update the corridor management plan, but that's a fairly minor thing. The other part is in terms of, Bob talked about a traffic engineer, who are consultants and who do we partner with? I mean, obviously, MAPC is the regional planning group, and I know Chris had sent this stuff out to MAPC, whether or not they can help us with either of these or whatever projects we have. For instance, the scenic, in terms of management entities, there are different management entities for the Massachusetts byways. We have sort of a strange one. It can be a 501c3 in the case of like Essex Scenic Byway. It's the National Heritage Area, which in fact would have been Freedom's Way for us. In some of the Western ones, it's the Regional Planning Agency. So like somebody like Mass Metropolitan Area Planning Council. So we also have to figure out who we partner with. Typically on these past federal grants, the state has usually been the 20% match. But I think one of the things that we probably need to do, number one, is to figure out in terms of volunteer time, how we account for that. And the other part is to figure out how much we want to ask from the towns in terms of contribution, as part of that, matching, what do we want to try and match on that? So those are my thoughts initially.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Richard. My initial thought was to ask, as you mentioned, MAPC, the Boston MPO, we asked them to cover the 20% match. It can come out of their regional target, which is about $100+ million every single year. So I think them contributing $200,000 to $400,000 for a project on, one of the state's 5 byways, and a significantly historic, or excuse me, a corridor of historical significance would be something they'd definitely be willing to do. And I know they have the funds to cover it. If it would help other members, I'm happy to share my screen just so as we're discussing, you can follow along and see project categories. I'm not sure if I have the option to do that. Just one second.
Not yet.
It's actually not giving me the option to share. I'm not sure if anyone can help me out with that.
Do you have a share screen on the bottom of your
Rather control that.
Zoom?
I do, but it's
It just made
the
you
share.
co-host, so you should be able
Okay.
to now.
Thanks, Heather. Let me try again. Share screen.
Chris, have you, so we've got what, about 8 or so state scenic byways that are going to be competing for these? Do you have you
There are
heard
5
from-
that are eligible for funding. It's Battle Road, Old Kings Highway, Connecticut River, and Mohawk Trail. So actually just 4, excuse me.
What about
Um,
Essex?
I don't believe Essex has federal designation.
No, they don't. I thought that the requirements that they had to be either federal or state.
Yeah,
For this
I
funding, only the
I read that.
national highways.
Oh, okay.
Can
good.
everyone see that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, I'm sacrificing my view of you, so if apologies. And this is information that I distributed to, again, some of the members here. So if you haven't received it, I think it can be shared as well.
And
Nothing.
was this on the link or it wasn't in the text of your message?
I attached this as a PDF to an email I sent, I think, 2
Oh,
days ago. I reached
There's a
out
link.
again if anyone wanted to
There's a
discuss
link.
drafting these letters before the deadline.
Okay, I thought that was the same. Okay, good.
There's also in the original message, Nancy, which I know I shared with you and Richard and a few others. There is a webinar on the 31st for just the general public about the grant opportunities and more information.
I
Because
signed up for that. I think other people have here. I'm not
excellent, I have as well. Yeah, as many people that go, the better.
Yeah. Is anybody else signed up to go to that webinar?
I don't
Yeah.
know anything about it, so can you send me the information or whatever is out there to get?
Yep.
See? First, do you know who I am?
I have heard your voice before. I don't
You
know
have my
who you are.
email, because I don't get everything.
No, that's okay. I'm trying to keep
Jane
my,
Bradley. I'm Jay Bradley.
okay.
I can also send it to you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, project. Protection of the scenic, historical, recreational, cultural, natural, and archaeological resources. Well, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, a few of these.
What about assistance with governance? I'm looking, I'm having trouble seeing it. That's my eyes.
I'm sorry, which one is that?
It's it's not there, actually. I think it's probably fair to assume that a general governance review for the byway might not be fundable.
Yeah, I think one of the things that if we're talking about $500,000, some of these things, I mean, like, trying to form the stakeholder group and to look at government structure, governance aren't going to be, we shouldn't be spending that kind of money on it. And I think we have other projects that we need to get done that are more substantial, for things like governance and stakeholders. Hopefully the towns can fund what we need for those things, I think.
Well, if you put 3 and 6 together, you might get a historically oriented traffic engineer.
On number 7, should we be doing more website development? I haven't checked our website in a long, long time. I
it's
don't know where
terrible.
we
We
stand.
have a good website. And again, for $500,000, I don't think we need that much money to get that going.
Yeah, but
I think in
so
terms of
let's get it. How
signage-
about we don't need $500,000 for that, but it wouldn't hurt to have 10,000, would it?
You can do
Right.
more.
And that's why one of the things is that, if we can show our towns that we're going to get $500,000 or $1 million for other kinds of things to improve the quality in the 4 towns, then they should be more than willing to give us the 5 or 10,000 to do these things.
Well, can't we just cobble together a lot of these things to
You can
ask
submit
for one big
multiple.
chunk?
Well, one of the things that
Yeah.
we need to do is this is going to be a peer-reviewed of our application. As the application says we want to do all these little tiny things, how is that going to be looked at and reviewed? I mean, one of the things is that Chris Clem is going to have to figure out for the 5 other byways, he has to say, which things are most worthy and which things are most likely to get funded. So it's not us that are applying, it's MassDOT that's going to be sending in the application.
Yeah.
No, I
We're gonna write it,
understand
but-
why we can't have a few things, maybe one major thing and a few smaller things, and
You can have more than one
Yeah.
application.
Mhm.
So the small, 1 or 2 smaller things might go in a separate application.
Yeah, that's correct, Nancy. So if there's, one really high target, or, almost wish, I at least at this point with the knowledge that I have, I'd recommend filing an application for that for a larger project. But if you think there's a couple items that you can fall back on that would support the byway, it's not, really on your wish list, but it's something that would help, then I do believe it'd be worth it to submit multiple applications. And I don't think there's a limit to the number that we can submit.
Okay, and
So since we have an April 4th deadline, I suggest that, Nancy, that you form a group for at least one person from each of the 5 entities to work as a working group to
an ad hoc
see if-
work group, sounds like to me. So
yeah.
So Richard, these can be submitted on behalf of like each individual byway. And I've reached out to our coordinator to see if I can submit one application as a whole. But I've also reached out to the thread that I have of contacts throughout the state asking if we'd like to meet sometime tomorrow or next week to review the letters before we submit them and just make sure that we're on the same page.
So
And
one
again,
of the
these
things
aren't
that
required.
we
They're
had
just
talked
encouraged
about a
and they
while
help our
back was,
application.
can you convene a group of the byways?
Yes. I'm gonna send another email today saying that I've heard back from a few. It looks like Wednesday works for those few that have replied to me to discuss, applications, but specifically the letter of intent. And then after that, I'll send out another email scheduling a meeting to discuss applications in the beginning of April.
Okay.
So Wednesday, the 30th, is that where we are?
Yes, next Wednesday. Yep.
So that's a day before the webinar.
Yes, yeah, which is, honestly, awful timing from FHWA and then the deadline for application is on a Monday. Granted at 4 p.m., I guess, which provides a little bit of wiggle room, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to advise the members to come to that meeting on the 30th with a draft of these letters so we can review them together.
Oh, okay. And so the immediate task for us is to create an ad hoc work group. And
With who? I'd say the immediate task is to discuss with your, the stakeholders of the byway committee for Battle Road. Yes, what you would like to see done for just Battle Road, because I haven't received guidance on whether or not we can pool together a single application to make it more competitive.
I'm not sure I followed you.
So,
what about the work group, an ad hoc work group of byway members to decide on the focus for a letter of intent?
Right. So the letters of intent, it is unclear to me if they are supposed to be submitted on behalf of each individual byway for a project that would take place within that byway, or if they will be submitted on behalf of the state for every single byway. Does that make sense? Kind of. I think it's the former. So each byway, Battle Road would have their own letter of intent stating the project that they would want to do. And then Old Kings Highway would have a separate one and so on.
Right, and that's
Yeah,
what,
so like when we did the application for the federal designation, your predecessor took the applications from each of those and separately sent those off individually to be reviewed.
Yes, and that's how I think this is going to go as well. But I still want to
Who
ask
knows?
if we
Right.
can submit them together, if there is a project type that would support all the byways in Massachusetts to make us more competitive, because it's not clear based on the resources available to us so far.
Right.
well, I think one thing in the favor of the Battle Road Scenic Byway and the All-American Road is the anniversary coming up and the focus nationwide on that. So that's going to be helpful it would be helpful to take advantage of that.
I agree. And with that in mind, I think it creates an even stronger case for Battle Road to receive some type of project funding.
Yeah.
So what is our deadline for creating a document that says what our wish list is?
The letter of intent deadline is April 4th at, I believe, 4 p.m.
It's not a wish list, though. That's a description of the project.
But this group that Nancy is forming needs to meet before next Wednesday.
So are likely participants?
Well, Lincoln will certainly participate. I or Paula may, or even Jennifer may be the individual, but we'll certainly be there. Can we lay out all the deadlines? We have to form a working group. The working group has to have a meeting. A document has to be created that we transmit to MassDOT. Do I have that right?
April 4th.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time here. Let's figure out what all our deadlines are so we can get it done.
Why don't we create a working group that includes one member, one person from every entity? And of course, it's an open meeting. So
did we just say that we should have this meeting next Wednesday, by next Wednesday? Is that right?
So do you have a time for this next Wednesday, Chris?
Not yet. I think it's 10 and 11 or 2 and 3 were a couple of the responses I received.
So we probably need to meet before next Wednesday.
you want to be before? Will everybody be coming to that meeting with their letters of intent drafted?
I recommend you have a committee
At least have
meeting
a
with
topic.
just Battle Road, not the other stakeholders, not the other byways.
Okay.
You should, with the guys we have right now, you should prioritize the letter of intent for Battle Road.
Okay, and so come to the meeting on the 30th with that letter of intent.
Yes, and we can review them, and hopefully I'll have more guidance from FHWA so I can, at least assess the competitiveness of each letter.
I've got one.
Chris, this is Paul Fenley. This letter of intent would be for the Battle Road Scenic Byway as a group.
Yes.
Not the individual towns.
No, yes, it'd be for the byway.
Okay.
And it's a good idea to get your letter of intent in, a very good idea, I would think.
Yes,
but
they strongly encourage it.
But it can be adjusted or changed.
Yes, it's not final.
Yeah, so
I would suggest, instead of like authorizing a working group, we just schedule another Battle Road Scenic Byway meeting, either Monday or Tuesday next week, and whoever attends is part of that discussion.
Okay with me. What do you think? Seems the simplest.
Fine.
For next, it would have to be before Wednesday. So
Yeah, either Monday or Tuesday.
28th. What do you guys think? Is there a
Tuesday at 10?
Tuesday?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Thank you, Heather.
Nancy or Richard or Heather, excuse me, someone that I've shared the original announcement with, which has links to resources, and then a follow-up email with this PDF attached. Please share that with the entire Battle Road group, just so they can sort of review and
Okay.
familiarize themselves before.
This one?
I think I did. Did I?
Richard, you forwarded the email. It didn't have any attachments though.
Okay.
I did get an attachment and I printed and it looks just like that. So I'll find that. I think it was from Chris.
I didn't get Chris's original email, so I don't have any of the attachments.
All right. I will be responsible for ensuring that it gets sent out to the committee.
Yeah, it's out there.
Thank you. The original email just said links to resources and the link to the register for the webinar, but the second email had this letter of intent attached.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll get it sent out.
And you can do that? Okay, thank you.
And if I receive any updates based on the questions I have from FHWA, I'll share those with the thread that I originally sent the announcement to.
Okay. And good. Are we done? I think that's what we could do right now.
We still have something on the agenda, right?
Yeah, we do.
So we have to decide about the 106, about what to submit.
Well, why don't we copy the FHWA people and the DOT people who are engaged in the 106? And
yeah, I think we should do that. I know one of the things that the Lexington Historical Commission did is they sent in a letter essentially saying the park's position is our position. I mean, can we do the same thing?
we just sent a letter that's different, but yes.
Yeah, I don't think we should get into this whole discussion right now. I think we drafted our comment letter from the Battle Road Scenic Byway, and that's our comment letter.
And letter from
that was for Mass Ave, not for the 106.
The same group. Go away, Richard.
Just say no, Nancy. Just say no, not now.
Just say no. The Concord Historical Commission is going to take up a letter tonight, so that should be public before long. Okay. What we do have to, this was a reminder, the governance review. I think we badly need a governance review top to bottom for this committee. It was created in 2013. I had to go back and look at when the open meeting law was done, but I think there's some confusing things about our operation. Concord just found out that it's now the fiscal agent, which is a little frightening if we get a $500,000 grant and we didn't realize that. I guess it's not written down anywhere. My memory was Arlington was always wonderful about that. I don't know what's entailed. I don't know if Clarissa or Richard or anybody has records of what the fiscal agent did, if there's any money left in Arlington, what bills are outstanding, things like that. So that's, governance is something we need to talk about, but we need to do a lot of preparation first. So I was thinking maybe if people think sometime in May.
Nancy, how did Concord become the fiscal agent? Is it by virtue of you being the chair?
Clarissa,
that's typically, that's how it
that's what I'm invested.
Traditionally, when I was chair, Lexington was the fiscal agent, and then when Arlington became the chair, they decided it'd be just as easy for them to then be the fiscal agent. And
so what happened? Did the money, any money that was sitting in an account, get transferred to Arlington at that point? And like bills, like how do, like the website, do we get billed for that annually? None of that was communicated to us.
Yeah, so obviously Allie is the one who probably has the only information about that.
She's busy.
When she coming back from her leave?
I think she will be back on or about May 1st from a recent communication I saw.
Another funny juxtaposition.
Yeah, I'll be leaving in May.
Oh, no.
Yeah, oh no, exactly. Okay, so we have that, and just be thinking about it and think about how the committee functions. I've been reading open meeting law stuff and what to put in minutes and how to, do all the things that Heather knows most about right now so that somebody else knows. And then if there are any member updates, we have a next meeting date. So any
Let
member.
me, if I could, because I'm going to have to leave shortly, but in terms of member updates, and I'd like to get it in because there's a little bit of timeliness. The town of Arlington has committed some community preservation funding to re-examine, reimagine, and redesign a historical monument on the Battle Road called the Foot of the Rocks, which is the scene of a very important combat point with the retreating British troops and the militiamen, a pretty strong raging battle. It's at the intersection of Massachusetts Avenue and Lowell Street in Arlington Heights. Arlington has engaged a landscape architect firm. The initial designs have been put together. They're being reviewed. There's a public meeting being scheduled for mid-April. I don't have the details yet, but we would like to publicize this, particularly among all the Battle Road members, but also with people in the various towns, and get as wide a sense of review and participation as we can. So I'm not sure officially how to get that into you, Nancy or Heather, but after this meeting, I can forward some information. I'm on the team along with Clarissa that's working with this landscape architect firm, and we've had a couple meetings, and I think it could be a very, very big improvement for the Battle Road, particularly Arlington's part of that, and I'm pretty excited about the project.
Who's the landscape architect?
His name is Ray Domnance. I'm not sure that's the name of the firm, but he's the principal in the firm.
I think what you're raising is really, really good. And it brings me back to something I was thinking about a lot, how to get consistency throughout the whole byway that's recognizable but not intrusive. Just subtle hints and clues, and landscape architects are the people to imagine that. I think that'd be great. That'd be great. Okay.
So I will have to leave in just a few minutes, but I appreciate having a chance to put that on the record for you all.
Yeah, that was great. That's really exciting, actually.
I'd also like to add, I don't know if the National Park is still here, but for them in particular, and also all of you, any information that you might have in your respective archives about the history of the Foot of the Rocks would be very, very helpful to us. We don't have nearly as much historical information about it as we would like, and reaching out to other entities would be very helpful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who put that up, but thank you.
I did.
I thought it might be really good. Thanks.
Really,
Nice. Okay.
sorry, I'll kill that.
Other business? Any more public comment? Jane's still here. Any other business? Thank you all.
We'll adjourn.
And I guess we will see something about the meeting next Tuesday, the 29th, coming from Heather. Okay, thanks everyone.
Okay.
Bye.